Hey everyone, Tony D with another hot take, just a brief hot take. There are articles coming down. I did my rant yesterday about the press, right? And, it was that particular reporter, although there were a couple others, who went after Trump and really had nothing to add to the conversation. And that particular exchange, he was not, in my view, digging for more information. He was trying to get a headline. And the headline he wanted was something like, Trump says Americans should, America is in trouble. Or Trump said, something negative. He was looking for a very negative headline for Trump. He was fishing for it because he didn't really have anything. Like, if you watch YouTubers, like you watch me, like, you could tell I don't do a tremendous amount of research. And then there are guys who do a tremendous amount of research. And you could tell from watching their videos, wow, that's a lot of information here. And then you could tell guys who do absolutely no research or reading, they're just talking about nothing. I don't think this reporter had anything. He was just fishing for this soundbite. And Trump wasn't having it. And this isn't a defense of Trump. Again, I end up defending Trump a bunch of times in discussions with people or whatever, when I used to have discussions and see people. But it isn't about Trump. No one likes to see other people, no matter who they are, treated unfairly. And the thing about reporters is it's not only that they're treating Trump unfairly, they have a job to do. And their job is to get information and report it. And they're not doing it. And it drives you crazy because Trump's press conferences have been full of information. And we could get more if you just ask questions about the information rather than trying to get in these tit for tats with Trump. You're trying to get him to say negative things. He's trying to be positive. I can totally see his standpoint. He basically is like, well, we're in a bad crisis. I'm going to be positive about America, positive about the crisis, positive about the American people. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Why wouldn't you want to be positive in a time of crisis? You wouldn't want a guy to come out and go, oh, it's bad. It's terrible. So many people are dying. I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, we have some measures in place, but those could hardly help people. A lot more people are going to die. I mean, do you want to hear that? No, you don't want to hear that, although that's the case. More people are going to die, probably a lot more people. And it's going to be 2 weeks before this crisis gets anywhere, before you see any results, because it's a 2-week incubation period. So, as I started to say in the other video, 2 weeks out. You got to think back, what were people doing 2 weeks ago? I know exactly what people were doing 2 weeks ago. Nothing. Not a damn thing. People 2 weeks ago were still saying, this is no big deal. It's just like the flu. It's no big deal. That was 2 weeks ago. That was 2 weeks ago Saturday. I was still the only one taking any kind of precautions. The only one. People thought I was nuts. I got invited to a dinner. I declined. They said, why? I said, because of this. The crisis that's coming. Oh, you should just come. They're not saying that now. I don't want to get anything. Neither should you want to get anything. You shouldn't want to get this. And you got to understand, yes, the death rate is very low. If you get it, your chances are very good that you will survive. However, there is a almost 20% chance that you will have to be hospitalized in order to survive. And that will be a nightmare. It will be a nightmare simply because it's crowded. It will be a nightmare because you'll be on a ventilator for 2 weeks at least, possibly more. You might suffer permanent lung damage, and it's just going to be bad. It's just going to be a misery being in the hospital. And then you're going to finally get out after 2 weeks, and you're going to have to restart your life. Then you're really going to have to restart your life. At least you're home now. You can answer emails. You can make phone calls. You can do stuff. You're not going to be able to make a lot of phone calls while you're on a ventilator. Watch some of the videos online. So this is a serious crisis, And even that reporter, in my view, is not taking it seriously. He's another guy who thinks he's immune. And newsflash, Pence's team, some of Pence's staff have been diagnosed. This is very bad. It's likely Pence has it, which means it's likely everybody on the Trump team has been exposed. Doesn't necessarily mean they all have it, but you got to think 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, that's when they got it. 2 weeks have been going by, doing presidential things, talking, my germs, exposing other people. That's the insidious nature of this crisis. 2 weeks out. So we are still a good week and a half away before any of the measures put in place, at least in this area, are going to start to do any good. That means you can almost guarantee that the increasing tolls will continue to increase, and that, you know, the National Guard being on the street will at least be on the street for the next 2 weeks or so. And as they test more people, the numbers, don't be freaked out about the numbers, because the numbers are going to go right through the roof once these testing areas start to get set up. And they just set one up in Paramus, where I'm sure everybody has it. I'm sure everybody has it in North Jersey at this point. It's been a few days. People are just walking around with it. They don't realize they have it. The numbers are just going to go through the roof. But don't freak out about that. They already had it. There's probably thousands of other cases no one knows about. People who feel like they just got a cold and they stayed home. The numbers are going to get sky high before they level off to anywhere that makes sense. So don't freak out about that. But understand you got to stay home. Understand that the media now, first they said, oh, Trump's underreporting this. Then they suddenly got on board with, oh, he's reporting it? Oh, now he's overreporting it. Now, I don't know, they're in a weird mode where they're just trying to get Trump on anything. They're so focused on taking him down still at this late date. Even though Trump has acknowledged that some of the news teams are at least on board with him, even when Ilhan Omar praises you, I mean, Ilhan Omar couldn't be further away from Trump, and she praised him. So these guys really need to back off. And when I say back off, I don't mean stop reporting, but report on things that make sense. Ask questions that make sense. Ask questions about information, about how many beds, about, cures and things like that. When people are so frustrated with these idiots, and then NBC comes out and defends the guy and makes it look like Trump attacked him for no reason. And if you watch the press conference, that would infuriate you too. It infuriates me that they try to frame it that way, because I watched the press conference and that guy was needling and needling and needling. He wouldn't get off the point, wouldn't change his tune. And, it's not like Trump, again, it's not like Trump's defending himself on impeachment or some BS political thing. He's trying to give information out about what the country is doing. He's talking about legislation, sending everybody $1,200 or whatever. How they're going to maybe use this new drug, old drug, the malaria drug, to cure everybody. And these guys are busting his stones on it. It's like, okay, where's the proof on that? What about that question? Mr. President, you say this drug is a good drug. How much proof is there really to back that up? And then, because they don't want to say that, because then Trump's going to go, well, let me have one of the doctors ask it. Because Trump is sensible in that way. He wouldn't try to answer that question. If you asked him an actual question, it's just so infuriating. And you know what? You're just handing the election to Trump. As much as you want to make sure he's not elected next year, as much as you think you're part of the wacky resistance, where are those guys? Where's Russiagate? Where's Trump going to take us to World War III? What happened to all those people? Where's the people crying about that? I don't hear from them anymore. I don't see them on Twitter anymore talking about how Trump's going to do that. Now they're just complaining about how he's mismanaging the crisis. Oh, they knew about it since January. Yeah, and he wanted to have a travel ban against China, and people called him a racist and said, no, you can't do that. So what are you talking about? And did you expect him to instantly close the country without any information? Would you want a president that does that every time? Oh, Mr. President, we got a report. There's a virus in China. Close down the country. Close it down. If you did that, you'd wreck the economy. You only do that when you're sure it's that bad. And listen, this isn't China. You can't just close the borders. It's tough to close the borders here. And people who don't want any borders are partially to blame for that. So, and it takes a while for the federal government to get up off its butt and actually do things. When the government wants to do something, it takes weeks. It takes weeks, not days, weeks, not hours, weeks. And that is a record for most things in the federal government. They can't just do things in the United States. The government is too big. There has to be money appropriated. People have to be moved around. It takes weeks. Or else, guess what? There are people in the government who will steal that money or abscond with it. There are people who will just follow orders blindly and send your boxes of water or drugs into the middle of nowhere because, well, that's what you told me to do and I just obey orders. You have to have things organized in a sensible way, and that takes weeks. We have almost 400 million people in this country. It takes weeks. Yeah, and look, you have these political hacks who are going to resist you because they think, this is an opportunity for me. Oh, well, President Trump's making too big a deal about this. I'm not going to take this aid. You're going to mess up our economy. And blah, 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 blah. That's the kind of things you are dealing with when you're on top. So, look, I'm not saying you can't check Trump, but at least check him on things that make sense. Stop trying to get your clickbait headlines. Just report the news for a while. How about that? You've already got the sensational story that everybody wants to read about. Everybody wants to read about this because it's directly affecting their lives. And yet, you still feel the need to play these games. Stop.